Good. All right, welcome back, everybody. Another piece of the big Fan Fred puzzle. Let us talk again tonight about covered bonds. We heard about it last evening. This could be a new mortgage model that could put Fannie and Freddie out of business altogether. And boy, isn't that ever appealing. Joining me to talk about is Representative Scott Garrett, Republican from New Jersey. Scott, it's great to see you. Peter Wallison, American Enterprise Institute, and I talked about this last night. Covered bonds. The banks have to finance the mortgages and then some, but the banks themselves will actually hold the paper. So therefore, instead of the Singapore fund or the Kuwaiti fund, it'll actually be in a local bank in America. So if loan modifications have to be made, then so be it. Seems like this could be a whole new business model. Tell me your thinking.
It absolutely could be a new business model, as you well know, for the United States. As you also know, it's not a new business model globally speaking because, well, Europe has been doing it for a very, very long time, hundreds of years. It would allow us to address one of the fundamental problems that got us into this situation that we're in right now, and that is the loosening up to a degree where there was no standards anymore as giving mortgages. As Barney Frank said, some people were getting mortgages that they shouldn't have been.
Right. And
that's because, simply put, that banks, or not banks per se, but lenders were lending the money, no documentations. People who didn't have jobs, didn't have assets, they could go and get loans.
But Scott, let's not go down that road. We all know that. I want to ask you, give me ABC. ABC. Yeah. What is covered bonds? Our viewers are still grappling with this issue. Yeah. Covered bonds. Describe the transaction as briefly as you can.
Well, you basically laid it out already. It's just that it would throw us back to the days where you would actually get your loan, perhaps from your bank for another lender, and that lender would keep that mortgage, that loan on his books. And so for that reason, he's going to be concerned about the underwriting practices that he put into that loan.
All right, so that's step A.
And that's step A.
Now, how does he finance it?
Well, then it's collateral. He puts them all together in a group of loans, a group of mortgages, and then he collateralizes that, and he goes out and gets lenders to invest in that through a bond.
But directly, the bond is directly from this bank.
Right.
It's not from the Singapore Monetary Authority or Kuwaiti or Saudi Arabia.
No,
it's U.S. Hubcap Bank in Ohio, for example.
Exactly. And for that reason, you have a couple of advantages of that. And then the other aspect of it, maybe this is getting too much in the weeds for you, or your listeners, is that that bank is able to pool those mortgages, and if one of those mortgages that he has on his bank, on his pile there, begins to go bad, he can go and pull that one out and put another mortgage in to replace it.
And he can actually talk to if my mortgage goes bad, if I hit a bad patch in my life, and I want to go to my banker, and I want to try to negotiate some modifications, some what we used to call forbearance in the very old days, then the covered bond approach allows me to do that. Right now, I'd have to get on a plane and go to Singapore, and they probably wouldn't even talk to me.
Well, you would go to Singapore if and only if you knew that that's where your mortgage actually ended up. Because if you went to your local broker to get your mortgage 2 or 3 or 5 years ago, you don't know where your mortgage is today. It may be in Singapore, it may be still in town.
And that's the problem with the Fannie Freddie securitization model. There's no responsibility in this system. Right? Bank A makes a mortgage, sells it to Fannie and Freddie. All right, so it's out of his hands, right? That's it. Fannie and Freddie package it together with 8 zillion other loans, and they sell it to Abu Dhabi. And that's it. Nobody has any responsibility. Nobody has any accountability anymore. So covered bonds would keep it local. Is that the basic point here?
That's the basic point. That's one of the basic advantages of it. It does away with the credit risk aspect of it as far as the rating agencies coming in and rating how good this package of mortgages are. Because, well, you know how good the mortgages are because you and I or the bank can actually go in and see those mortgages. All right. But let me clear about one other thing.
I've got to get out, Scott. I'm running out of time. We're going to revisit this time and time again. I appreciate your efforts very, very much.
Thank you.
Representative Scott Garrett of New Jersey. Much more at the Kudlow All-Stars. You know, folks, I really like this covered bond. We got to explore this and pursue this. This is a better model, a safer model, a more independent model. And by the way, you can fix things because it'll be right here in the U.S. of A. Kudlow Company. We're for the U.S. of A.